Hey, what's up everybody? It's Lids, and we're back for some more Gwent, and today we're going to be trying out more of the Thanedd Coup expansion cards in the new Entrenched seasonal event. And today's deck is built around the card that I was most excited about using from this expansion, so let's go check it out. So today we'll be using a Northern Realms Pincer maneuver deck that focuses on playing as many Patience cards as possible, and waiting as long as possible to use those Patience abilities to make them as strong as possible. And let's just say we're going to use some unconventional methods to take that theme to the extreme. So of course we have all of the big Patience cards, including Gerhart from the previous expansion, as well as Istredd, and the Ard Student. But most importantly, we've added the new Leticia card, and when we use her order ability at the end of our turn, all of our other Patience cards will get that Patience ability significantly stronger. So this was the card that I was so excited to use. Then we'll also throw in the Aretuza Student, another one of the new Patience cards, and the Aretuza Adept to get boosted from all those Patience cards. And because in the Entrenched seasonal events, all of our units will gain resilience, that means we can keep our Patience units on the board for 2 rounds, giving them far more time to power up those abilities. So that's the simple part. So then I also added Matta, which of course lets us draw our best card, but also makes the round go longer so that our Patience units have longer to power up. And I included Thaler for the same reason, as well as Ciri Dash. So I was not kidding. We are making these rounds as long as possible to make our Patience orders really count. So now we'll flip through the deck to show you what else we have. And Viraxas is of course capable of resetting one of our Northern Realms units' order abilities. This could be Gerhart, it could be another one of our Patience units if their order gets powered up enough. Then Donimeer will of course help protect some of our more vulnerable units. Most of the time I think that's going to be Leticia, but it could also be Gerhart, and it could also be Viraxas. Then Margarita for some luck. And Runeword could potentially give us even more of those Patience units, or another Aretuza Adept to get boosted from all of them. Or alternatively, a Cintrian Spellweaver, which is of course a great source of damage. However, our deck is much more built around Patience than maximizing the number of spells, so the Spellweaver is not as high of a priority as it would normally be in other decks. Then Spring Equinox will purify all units on a row, which is key in this event because that will remove all the resilience from the units on one of our opponent's rows. So it's great for removing their carryover, however bear in mind it's not worth any points in the round in which you play it. Then Megascope is potentially another way to create more Patience units or Aretuza Adepts. However, because we want to get those Patience units out there as quickly as possible so that the Patience get stronger as quickly as possible, that 2-turn delay is a significant downside, so we might just keep this in our deck. And because the Ard Tutor does all of its boosting immediately, this will be one of our finishers. So there's a look at the deck, and this is all out Patience. So I'm curious to see just how strong this archetype can be, and prepare yourself for some long rounds. Let's go see it in action. Alright, so going in Skoyatel here, and they'll go first. Okay, so we have Gerhart, as well as Ciri to get us additional card draw, and Thaler to do the same. Even Viraxas to say, give us another round of Gerhart's ability. But I think we get rid of Margarita and keep her in our deck. We'll use a tutor to get her if necessary. Leticia is fantastic. That'll help us get Gerhart ready to use his ability more quickly. Then I think we either get rid of Spring Equinox or the Cintrian Spellweaver. Let's go Spring Equinox. And Amphibious Assault is great. Okay, so we'll start with the Sorceress of Doblathana. And that may mean that we're going to see a damaging special card out of her on their next turn. And they may also be able to use that special card to move one of our units. So I think we don't play anything that's row-locked. So what if we start with Thaler, play him in the range row, and normally this would not be the card that we want to lead off with. But he will be able to take one of those hits from a damaging special card, and he is not row-locked. So in theory, he's most able to survive this situation. And now the Whisper of Doblathana. So they'll create a bunch of copies of that. Okay, and they're using, oh, the new Orb of Insight. Okay. Alright, so I think now is when we get out Leticia. And we'll start loading up on our Patience units. And they are going to damage her. It's not enough to destroy her, but she is quite weak. And that may mean that we want to get Donimeer out here, so that we have a defender in this row to protect her. And we could either do that with Amphibious Assault, although it's a 9 provision cost card, so he doesn't get boosted at all from it. I think instead what we do is we use 1 round of our leader ability, get him directly in our hand. And then, as great as Viraxas is, we don't want to play him in round 1 because he hasn't transformed yet. So I think we put him back in our deck. And let's play Donimeer here. Okay, now they go with the Hamadryad. I expect this to be the primary engine that they're going to work with. So now let's load up on more of our Patience units with the Ard Student. And they are going to get rid of him. In which case, why don't we use Amphibious Assault to create a higher power Ard Student. One that is not so easily destroyed. Watch them destroy it with Geralt of Rivia. Okay, it's a Force Protector. And they'll use that to get another round of Nature's Rebuke, which they will use to hit the Ard Student, which would have been enough to destroy it if we didn't boost it. That is enough special cards for them to get the second round of Orb of Insight. So now let's go with the Aretuza Adept. And this will be our primary unit that we boost. And they do pass here, which is unfortunate because we have several cards we'd like to use to help us draw additional cards. In which case, I think we just pass here and take the round 1 loss, especially because all of our key cards have resilience, whereas most of their cards do not. So we should have a pretty decent advantage in round 2. Okay, and so we drew into round 2 of Amphibious Assault, a Ghost Ard Tutor. So I think we definitely want to load up on the Patience units. Ard Tutor can be a finisher, so I think we actually stick with this here. And here you see, yes, carrying over into round 2. We already have more points than they do. Oh, and this is interesting. They immediately pass. They might have realized that that was the case. So we could take an easy round 2 win and immediately pass. Though there is potentially something to be said for playing some of our Patience units, like Gerhart, right now, so that by the time round 3 starts, they're already more powerful. But we might be overthinking that a bit, so let's just take the simple round 2 win. Unfortunately means we don't get the chance to use those highly boosted Patience abilities, but so be it, because we should still be able to use Patience in round 3. And round 3 is definitely not the time for Spring Equinox, so let's get rid of that. And the Aretuza Adept is the card that will get boosted from all that Patience, so that's a good combo. And Megascope is just a little bit slow, because when it comes to Patience, we want to get those cards down as quickly as possible. Okay, so it is a risk to do this, but I think we want to get Gerhart down there as soon as possible, so that this order building can become as strong as possible. Would have liked to have had Donimeer, of course, to protect him. That was initially the plan, but then they passed early. Okay, they'll start with, the new legendary card. That'll allow them to play all of their Orbs of Insight. So they'll get a decent boost here, and we may see them playing those cards from their graveyard later in the round. So now let's get a little more Patience going here. And they'll go with Call the Force. Question is, what are they going to play with Call the Force? And the answer is Francesca Findabair. Okay, so they are going all out on maximizing the number of special cards that they play. Okay, and I think what we do here is we try to get even more Patience out there. So let's use our leader ability. Ooh, and I would have said to get Istredd. Although, come to think of it, we don't have Viraxas in our hand, and he is pretty darn important. So I think we do take him. And we'll put back one of the Spellweavers. And we'll use Matta. Draw into Oneiromancy, which we can then use to get Istredd. Okay, and it's the Sorceress of Dolbana, so more special cards incoming. Alright, so now let's use Oneiromancy to get Istredd. Okay, then they're going to use Shaping Nature. That'll give them a big boost. And that'll get back one of their Orbs of Insight. And their other Orb of Insight. And another Orb of Insight, this time from Francesca. Then also a Nature's Rebuke. I think this one was coming from the Sorceress of Dolbana. And yeah, the target absolutely should be Aretuza Student. But they go for the Volunteer? Okay, that was a little strange. Alright, so now let's play Ciri Dash. Give her plenty of time to give us the additional card draw. Okay, then they'll go with the Hamadryad. My guess is they're going to use their leader ability charges on this. No, they're using one on a Wandering Treant? Not sure why that is. Alright, so now I think we play the Aretuza Adept. She'll get boosted from all this patience. However, that being said, we might want to use Gerhart's ability here, because at 9 provisions we should get Yennefer's Invocation or even Curse of Corruption, which, come to think of it, I mean, either way, we're destroying that 13 power card. Let's go with Yenvo. That way, theoretically, it is in our deck in case for some reason we want it. Because, well, we are going to draw it, in fact, with Ciri Dash. Okay, now they're going to use their leader ability charges on the Hamadryad. And they're going to use Fauve to play another nature card. This time it's Dryad's Caress. Probably to give, I would have said, more vitality to the Hamadryad, although that would have purified the vitality they already had. And we could even consider locking that Hamadryad, because I'm not sure there are too many cards remaining that we particularly want to lock. Though the other thing that I'd like to do would be Amphibious Assault into the Aretuza Student to get more patience going. I think we go for that. And at this point, our patience is getting pretty big on some of our units. Okay, then they're going to use Tempering. Boost this Hamadryad. And that'll give them another Orb of Insight. So now let's play the Cintrian Spellweaver. And we should see us draw into the card that we stole. Okay, then they're going to use Ethne. Ooh, okay. That's certainly strong. So I'll give them even more Symbiosis. And I think now what we do is we use Simless, the card that we just stole, to play all of our Rune Words. We still have both of them hanging out in our deck, I believe. And we use this to, I think, create another Aretuza Adept. That's a pretty sweet combo. And we'll put her... Let's split them a little bit. Have this one in the range row. Thought we had another one in our deck, did we not? Pretty sure the second one just disappeared for unexplained reasons, but okay. Okay, then Dryad's Caress. And what I'd like to do here is use Viraxas to reset Gerhart's Order, so we can then steal another one of their cards with Yennefer's Invocation. And we could play him in the range row, however, I'm a little bit concerned that if we play him and they have a way to shut him down, then that would be a pretty big problem. So I think we played a little bit safe here. Get the Zeal by playing him in the melee row. Reset Gerhart's ability, use Gerhart's ability, use Yenvo to steal the Hamadryad. Okay, then they'll use Tempering. And at this point, I suppose, why don't we lock one of their Symbiosis units with Margarita? And we actually should have locked this one, and then we could have destroyed the other one with our Cintrian Spellweaver. That would have been a little bit better. Though we can destroy Ethne. So I suppose we do that. just in case this last card that they have is a nature card. That way we'll reduce some of the value coming from that symbiosis. And this last card for nature decks would normally be either Herald Gourd or way to get Herald Gourd, and that is exactly what it is. How big is the boost? 18. It's a lot, but we still have a lot of boosting left as well. That gets them up to 101, but after playing the Ard Tutor, we can boost one of our mages. There's already almost enough. We'll apply a little bit of damage. And then we have the huge order abilities from our Aretuza students, so we can use those. And that is enough for us to pass them. And we also have Istredd's ability as well. Not that we have too many cards to draw into. Would have been 9, but we only had, what, 6 in our deck or something like that. So put all these back. And, well, won't even get to see how much of a boost that would have given us because they just forfeited. Alright, so going against Nilfgaard here. And we'll go first. Alright, so we have Viraxas, although we'd like to ideally save him for round 2 or round 3 when he transforms. We have Ciri Dash. We actually don't have much in the way of patience units. Basically just the Ard Student and Istredd. So I think let's get rid of one of the Ard Tutors. And Spellweaver is maybe a little bit better. But I think we also put Margarita back in our deck, and we get a tutor to use her if needed. And then, maybe we get rid of the other tutor as well. Okay, Spring Equinox is not going to be that big of a deal, at least when it comes to setting up our patience. Although that might help us clear out one of our opponent's biggest rows. Either way, I think what we do here is we start off with Donimeer, and we'll put him in the range row. And then on our next turn, we might use our leader ability to get Leticia out here and put her behind Donimeer. Okay, it's going to be Cantarella. And with that, they will get one of our Aretuza students. And I don't think that's too much of a threat by itself. So now let's use Pincer Maneuver to get Leticia. And I think we probably do get rid of Spring Equinox. And let's play Leticia behind Donimeer. And because they're using Enslave, of course that means they have a lot of tactics. So they might have Treason, in which case they could damage Leticia by 7. So let's boost her up with the Crystal Skull. Just to play it a little bit safe. Okay, then they'll go Oneiromancy. And Coup de Grace, presumably on Cantarella, not the Volunteer. So the question is, what are they going to steal this time? We do still have some big cards in our deck. Okay, fortunately, it's just a Megascope. So I think Bullet Dodge once more. So now let's go with the Ard Student to get some more patience out here. Okay, then they're going to go Assassination. That's probably going to be to get rid of, yeah, that Ard Student. And now they will get their second Aretuza Student out there. And speaking of Aretuza Students, I think we play ours here. Okay, then they'll go Imperial Diviner. This is probably to purify, yeah, Donimeer to get rid of his Defender status. So that means these cards are no longer protected by Donimeer. Fortunately, we did put the Veil on Leticia, so at least she can't be locked or poisoned. So in that case, why don't we get some more patience out here with Istredd. And I would have loved to have played Ciri Dash, but now that Donimeer is no longer a Defender, that means that she's an easy target for them to use Enslave on. So I think that would backfire on us big time. Okay, so now they're going Blightmaker. And with that, they'll get a little bit of damage. But now let's go with the Aretuza Adept, which will get boosted from all this patience. Okay, then they're going with another Blightmaker. And this time again, they'll get a little bit of extra damage. And so at this point, they could steal the Aretuza Student, so we might need to use this ability. Otherwise, they're going to get decent value out of that. It is just a 2-power unit, but if we don't use the order now, then it would have a 4 boosting order, and that might be good enough that they would use their lead ability on it. But either way, I think we do play Matta here, now that we have the Patience out there, and the unit that gets boosted by that Patience. And I'm going to take the risk. I'm going to not use it to give us one more turn of getting this Aretuza Adept boosted from the Aretuza Student. And it's Stefan Skellen. And have they played any tactic cards yet? They have to have, right? I think they used Coup de Grace, didn't they? Actually, the most recent tactic that they used was Assassination. So as things currently stand, that's a card that Stefan Skellen will give them the ability to play again. But I think now what we do is we go Oneiromancy into Gerhart. And then we use Leticia's ability here. And that should get Gerhart up to 13 fairly quickly. He's at 11 already. And 13 is key, because 13 is where he can play Oneiromancy. And this Assassination, of course, can deal a lot of damage to Gerhart. Will that be their target, though? No, they're going for Istredd. They could steal him. His order is all the way up at 11 now. Yeah, and this Aretuza Student also has an 11-point order right now, so this would be a pretty enticing option for them to steal. They did not choose to do so, though. In which case, I think what we do here is we go with the Cintrian Spellweaver. And then if we use the Aretuza Student's order on Istredd, then Istredd becomes big enough that he can't get stolen with Enslave, and we can save Istredd's ability. So let's go for that here. And this is almost certainly the last turn that we're going to want to take in this round. Okay, then it's Spring Equinox. And I did deliberately try to split out our big units between the melee and range row, so it means we are going to lose Gerhart for round 2, which is unfortunate, because I was thinking we would pass right now, get that order up to 13, and then use that immediately in round 2 to get an Oneiromancy. I don't even remember what spells there are at 12 provisions. I think Renew? So alright, we'll go with Ciri Dash here. I think it's going to get stolen. We'll use Gerhart, because we kind of have to. And then Renew, which is going to automatically give us Cantarella. We didn't even have time to use it here. And, well, it gave us their Defender, which then, again, because their turn had technically ended, used a random target for battle preparation, which happened to go on Istredd, which, I mean, could have been worse. So I think we do pass here. It does mean that we did kind of sort of overinvest in this round, but it actually gives us a Defender to block Ciri. Okay, so we now have a new and improved Viraxas. We got round 2 of Oneiromancy. We got Thaler, which we can use to make this round longer. And then Megascope, I think we swap that out. And Amphibious Assault is obviously fantastic. So I think we stick with this. And let's see. It's 26 to 23. However, they do have one more card than we do at the moment. However, we still have our Defender with 1 power, blocking Ciri, which, if we can keep her protected for just a little bit, will give us 1 more card draw. So I think what we do here is we go Amphibious Assault into an Aretuza Adept in our range row here. And then that'll get boosted from the little bit of patience that we still have going on with Istredd. Oh, we actually still have one in our melee row as well. Okay, so Coup de Grace, will allow them to play another copy of our Defender. And that will free up room for Ciri Dash for them to steal that, which I have to imagine they're about to do. They do. Yeah, so that was kind of unavoidable. It was either play Ciri at the end of round 1 or play a suboptimal Viraxas. Maybe it would have been better to go with a suboptimal Viraxas. And so now we need to ask ourselves, do we try to go all out in this round and still pull off the win? Or do we save our cards for round 3? And I think we might be at a point of no return now. Let's go Oneiromancy into a Ard Student. That gives us a little more patience. So now we are boosting up our Aretuza Adepts a little bit more. And that's going to be... I actually don't even remember what card they just removed. Is that our Cintrian Spellweaver that they just removed? And we just didn't quite have enough time to use the damage from that order ability, so that is, of course, unfortunate. But that actually wasn't a crucial piece of our plan for round 2. What we do is we go with Thaler. Okay, then they'll go with their own Ciri Dash. What? That is not the one that they stole from us. And it looks like they're going to get that card draw from her anyway, so it's not like using Thaler is going to change that equation. So we use him now. That'll give us a Megascope. We could consider playing to create another copy of an Aretuza Adept. I think that'd be a little too slow, though, so let's go with Viraxas instead. And what we'll do is we'll use him to reset Thaler's order to draw another card, so we can keep on having these Aretuza Adepts get boosted. Okay, then they're going to use Karotha Heatwave, and they'll banish Viraxas. So that means no order reset for Thaler. We do still have a lead here, and so that does beg the question, at this point, can we still win in round 2, or do we need to save our last card for round 3? At the moment, our Aretuza Adepts will get boosted by 2, however, we actually would need to use these order abilities on this turn. So tell you what, I think we actually do pass here. We still have a lead, so that will force them to continue to play cards. And we will continue to get boosted from these Aretuza Adepts, because we deliberately did not use Istredd or ban Ard Student's order. And of course that means we will just never end up using Istredd's ability, but we will get the chance to use the ban Ard Student. Okay, well, that is going to hurt a lot. They use their Yrden here, so that does allow them to catch up with just one card, but they do have to play what is probably their best card in their deck. Okay, and so I think we get rid of the Megascope now. And Spring Equinox is irrelevant in round 3. And Cintrian Spellweaver, yeah, that's one of the cards I wanted to make sure we got the chance to use. And then it's the Churning Chest, and that will get rid of our ban Ard Student. And that means things are looking rather dire at the moment. Let's go with the Cintrian Spellweaver. And then it's Hefty Helga. So that'll give them a lot of damage. And I think for that reason, it's probably time to go Amphibious Assault into Margarita. And then use her to lock Hefty Helga. Oh, they still have a Defender out there. What? Where did that come from? Hold on. We can take care of him. Then lock Hefty Helga. And given how they were able to destroy our Cintrian Spellweaver last time around before we got the chance to use the order ability to deal damage, let's make sure we do that here. Okay, then it's a Fire Scorpion. So yeah, here are all the typical cards you'll see in a Tactics deck. So now I think we go our last round of Pincer Maneuver. Get Runeword. And let's swap out a ban Ard Tutor. And then use Runeword. And we do still have an Aretuza Adept, so Patience units can help boost her. Why don't we go with the damage with the ban Ard Student? That'll give us also a few charges with the Cintrian Spellweaver. Okay, then they have Oneiromancy. And this will give them an Imperial Diviner so they can purify something. That's probably going to be Hefty Helga, right? That is what it'll be. So that means they do have some damage here. However, if we play our ban Ard Tutor and boost the ban Ard Student, we can hopefully keep this ban Ard Student alive. However, I think it's actually best if we don't use his order ability, because it's only worth 1 point here, whereas they're probably going to take 2 turns, in which case it'll boost the Aretuza Adept by 2 if we don't use it from all the patience. But let's at least use the Cintrian Spellweaver to hit Hefty Helga. So that means they have 2 cards to make up 20 points on us. And Assassination, not quite enough, actually, to destroy the Aretuza Adept, though along with Fire Scorpion it is. Then they get a little more damage from Hefty Helga. So now 12 points from their last card, Imperial Diplomacy. I'm not sure that's going to do the trick. It's a Cintrian Royal Guard. It will give them another round of Hefty Helga, but no! They do not catch up, they forfeit, so we will take the win. So there's a look at a Patience Northern Realms deck using cards of the new Thanedd Coup expansion for the Entrenched seasonal event. If you liked the video, then make sure to hit the like and subscribe button and leave a comment down below. Let me know which other cards, archetypes, and factions you'd like us to experiment with next. Thank you all for watching, and I'll catch you next time.